I'm here today with Dr. Kishore Mahbubani. He is the Distinguished Fellow at the Asia Research Institute of the National University of Singapore. We're here to discuss his new book, Has China Won? The Chinese Challenge to American Primacy. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
I can't think of a more important playing field on planet Earth to zoom in and explore than the one you have chosen. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I see a great tragedy coming, and it's a completely unnecessary tragedy. This coming geopolitical contest between the United States and China. And the basic message of my book is a very simple one, which is that a geopolitical contest between the United States and China is both inevitable and avoidable. So I try to explain in the main part of my book why it's inevitable and why also the United States should really think very hard and deep before it plunges into this geopolitical contest with China.
So where did the pressure mount that put us on this inevitable trajectory, which is so dangerous? You can speak to both American and Chinese contributions.
Well, I think it's clear that both sides have made strategic mistakes that in some ways led to the eruption of this geopolitical contest. But in a more fundamental way, the geopolitical contest was actually in some ways inevitable because the history teaches us, as a sort of 2,000-year logic, which to some extent Graham Allison has captured in his book, Destined for War, that whenever the world's number one emerging power, which today is China, is about to overtake the world's number one power, which today is the United States, that inevitably the geopolitical contest breaks out and then both get locked into a kind of a struggle. But of course the other question is what sort of triggered it now? And the trigger was caused by strategic mistakes made by both China and the United States. In the case of China, what I try to document in the book is that there was for a long time a very powerful constituency in the United States, the American business community that was so engaged with China, making lots of profits from China, and therefore that constituency always applied the brakes whenever the United States seemed to be heading towards a struggle against China. But what's interesting...
they used to have these Treasury reports, and were they a currency manipulator?
Yeah, that's right.
And they always stopped shy of declaring that.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. And that actually is a demonstration of the point I'm going to make. And what happened was that this time around, when Donald Trump launched his trade war, the logical thing should have been for the American business community to say, stop, you have a lot of stake with China. Instead, they just stepped aside and allowed the trade war to carry on against China. So that was China's big strategic mistake. But as I try to document in the book, the mistake made by the United States was in many ways much bigger. And it was a bigger mistake because the United States decided to launch a major geopolitical contest against China without first working out a comprehensive long-term strategy on how you deal with a country that has got a population that's 4 times bigger, and the United States is only 250 years old, less than 250 years old. China's been around 2,200 years. And what is shocking is that no thought was given to this at all. And this insight was given to me actually, as I document in the book, by Henry Kissinger in a kind of one-on-one lunch I had with him at his club. And so that thought led me to investigate further about what are the potential other mistakes the United States is making in proceeding with this geopolitical contest. So the goal of my book is actually to help United States, help Americans to think very hard and very deep before they take on an assignment which future historians will marvel at, that they just jumped in 2 feet first without thinking, hey, what am I getting myself into?
Mm-hmm.